Good evening and welcome to the election night special edition of the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and Periscope. My name is Tom Luongo. I hope you're all having a great time this evening. Really probably should have put the title up. Like everybody else, spending way too much time looking at what's actually happening at the election result. Opposed to, well, we'll keep the same title up as we. All right, so far, things are working out. I don't know if it's according to plan or what, but Senate looks about what I expected, anywhere from 3 to 5 seats in the Republicans' favor, whereas the House is looking thin. And I think the most salient point was made by Martin Armstrong earlier in the week. I don't know. I ain't watching Fox. God knows I don't watch television. I think the most salient point of the evening is this. There was a lot of people who identify with Trump, but not with Republicans. And it's harder to get them to come out in any substantive way in a midterm election and not vote their local race. So this may be the best the Democrats have to come up with. And yeah, it looks like it's going to wind up being really, really close. The House looks like it's very, very thin. So, but the Senate looks great. Let's think about this. They poured more money into Rick Scott versus Bill Nelson and Andrew Gillum versus DeSantis. We'll get to the markets. Don't worry about that. Than we've seen ever. I think they're saying that Rick Scott, Bill Nelson race may be the most expensive in history. And by the way, Rick Scott winning by 0.8 points is a blowout for him. He's a deeply unpopular guy. He's a dick. There's a reason why we call him Skeletor. He's not a nice guy. He wasn't a popular government. He wasn't a popular governor. So, no, there won't be any impeachment. Even if they win the House, there's not going to be any impeachment. Trump is not going anywhere. Cruz isn't going anywhere. That's really obvious. It was a little touch and go for a while. I love how the results were coming in such a way as to give you early hope that Beto was going to win, and then now they poured tens of millions of dollars into these campaigns in Florida to try and turn the state blue, and the numbers keep coming up every time. So it's really thin. They played their games down in Broward County. They played their games in other places, but it hasn't worked yet. If they want to bind Trump down, this is the thing. Okay, the more I've been thinking about this, the more I've been watching this play out today, the more I've been thinking about it. And I'm not crazy about what I'm seeing so far. I would have liked to have seen the Republicans hold on to more House seats. But it doesn't look good. I think the New York Times they're still holding on to the idea that the Democrats are going to wind up with 231 seats. I'm not sure I believe that, but I'll tell you this. Claire McCaskill's in for the ride of her life in Missouri. Heidi Heitkamp is losing badly in North Dakota. McSally may win in Arizona. Debbie Stabenow is only winning by 100,000 votes in Michigan. The Cruz margin was way too close, but the truth of the matter is that they dumped millions of dollars into that campaign. It's just the way it is. So Cruz is going to wind up winning by 5 or 6 points. He's already up by 3 now with 37% reporting. I think, I know they redistricted Pennsylvania, so there's at least 3 of those. Apparently, that's like 3 of those seats. They haven't called Scott for Florida yet, but that's a done deal. Heitkamp is going to lose in North Dakota. That's 3 seats. Montana is really a distinct possibility. That'd be 4 seats. And depending on how things play out in Missouri going forward, can be very interesting. I mean, we haven't had any of the rural counties in most of Missouri report yet. What we've had so far is a lot of the urban areas report. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think McCaskill's very, very weak here. And, it was really touch and go early on for Debbie Stabenow. And I still don't think it's, she's pulled out to 160,000. She's going to win. Now, it looks like Kansas is going to be split 2-2. What it looks like to me. So, I'm going to be doing a lot. I'm going to be doing a lot of this looking away from the camera tonight while I try to figure out what's going on. Yeah, it's the Senate's not going to vote to impeach Trump. Yeah, if the Dems wind up at plus 13 in the House, that's not a big deal, frankly. Any margin is good because as we go along here, the important part is that the longer this goes on the way it is, right? The longer the Democrats play this game and the Marxists go crazy, right? The more they try to obstruct and they try to play games and they try to repeal tax cuts and I don't know, do what they're doing. The more they do that, the more fatigue they're going to induce in the average voter. And they're not going to be able to play these games in 2020. They're not going to be able to ratchet up this Donald Trump is a Nazi thing to any farther than they already have. They've already crested on this, right? It's already hit its peak. They're going to continue to try and go crazier, but it's not going to work. All right? So you have to kind of look at it that way. That's the way. Yeah, I know Romney winning is kind of a -1 actually on the Senate side. So I just think that this is again another one of those. The progression here is, what's the word I'm looking for? The progression here is in the right direction. It's just going to take a little longer for us to get where it needs to go, and that's not good, right? I would have preferred. Well, if they hold the House, it'll be fine. If the Republicans hold the House here, everything will be fine. Trump will be able to will be unleashed to do things that he has not been able to do to this point. That's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know that it's going to be thin. We're down to the Times has the Democrats up by 12 seats at this point. So well, they did a really good job on getting people to the polls this time. They really did. So Mike Bernard's got a really interesting point, which it doesn't matter who wins, the equity markets are screwed. Not in the short term, they're not. But in the long run, everybody is screwed because the Fed's not going to stop hiking, and because the Fed can't stop hiking or won't stop hiking. And there's reasons for that. It's actually putting more pressure on foreign markets than it is on the United States markets. As long as the Republicans hold the House here, you're going to see movement into the stock markets. The stock markets have been bracing for a 30-seat pickup by the Democrats. Right? That's what they're that's what is priced in right now. So it's not even that it's a crazy overpriced market, Mike. You got to remember that it's all about international capital flows, right? Everything's overpriced. Asset prices should drop by 90%, but they're not going to because they printed a lot of money. Okay. And a lot of that value is just sitting there. It's just that money is just going to slosh around. It doesn't really matter what the valuations are. Dow's going to do really well here. As long as, the Democrats don't pick up like another 20 seats between now and the end of the night. And I don't see a blue wave here. What I see are some pretty strong midterm results, but the Senate stuff is really impressive. So Buck's got an interesting point. Impeachment in the House will give fodder to the Never Trumpers, who are all five of them. So who we're talking about? Bill Kristol, John Kasich, Evan McMullin, the National Review. Okay, all five of those guys. Mitt Romney. The better side of it is this. They'll go for a contested convention and try and get rid of Trump. It's not going to happen. The better scenario is this. Trump went into Florida and won it with two shitbag candidates. Rick Scott, who is not a popular governor, ran against a 3-term incumbent and just unseated him. And Ron DeSantis ran one of the worst campaigns I've ever seen. For governor. And squeaked by a fucking socialist. That was all Trump. Trump went to Florida like 6 times. From our perspective, yes, Trump's problems are not the Democrats, they're the neocons. Actually, Trump's problems are the globalists. That means the Democrats, the liberal interventionists within the Democratic Party and the neocons within the Republican Party is basically two flavors of the same fucking, Trotskyites. Those guys are the problem. Those people are the problem. We're going to watch this play out in a way that Trump will be able to use to his advantage. And a stronger Senate with a real majority will give him a lot more leeway on cabinet appointments than he had before. And then we'll find out what the true measure of the guy is. We'll find out if he's been yanking our chain for the last 2 years on 2.5 years on foreign policy. Because without a real majority in the Senate, so he picks up with 2 or 3 solid pickups here. It only needs a couple of pickups, right, in the Senate. Then you're looking at a far easier time for him to get stuff done. This is why seats like McCaskill and Stabenow are so important. Oh, by the way, Josh Hawley is now beating Claire McCaskill by 12 points with 48% reporting in Missouri. Braun won by 12 points. Manchin only won by 3.5 points. The Libertarian was within the margin of victory. Kramer has now been called in North Dakota as a pickup for the Republicans, gaining 2 seats so far. Hawley is now up by 12 points over Claire McCaskill. And Stabenow is pulling away in Michigan. But Manchin could easily flip to the Republicans. Will the Republican R's recognize they owe Trump? Yeah. I don't think that's a problem. The problem in Florida is that here's some interesting things. Ready? Do you know who won the election tonight for DeSantis and Scott? And this surprised the shit out of me. Ready? Black women. Black women actually outpolled black men in this election. 18% of black women voted for DeSantis and Scott. I would have thought it was the other way around. Or if it was in the Gillums, it was in the Gillum race. Okay, think about that for a second. That's a huge result. No, I'm not saying that they didn't call it for Manchin. Manchin's going to win. Manchin has won. Okay, but Manchin only wins by 3.8%. The Libertarian took 4%, 4.2%, and Manchin could easily flip Republican, as in declare and become a Republican. Because the only reason he won that seat was because he voted for Kavanaugh. So I think that what we're seeing is a transition period now, where now Trump has been on the job for 2 years, and now the Republicans who are running for office have to prove themselves to the voters that they're not just the same old swamp guys. Because I said in my article on Monday, or on Sunday night, said the big problem here is that we want all the incumbents gone, right? That warms it up. They want all we want the incumbents gone. We just fuck these guys. Let's get rid of them all. And that's part of what we're still seeing here. So that's why there's still that's why the Democrats were able to flip so far 12 seats in the House, right? So think of it in those terms. Now project out 2 years from now, where the Democrats are going to go even full on more crazy. Crazy town ennui is going to set in. We're already tired of it. The Dems are already tired of it. You can't keep people in a state of insane gaslighting forever. It doesn't work. Their fatigue sets in. It's like, when you're watching a movie, there has to be moments of comic relief. There has to be moments where the tension lessens, and then you bring the tension up, and then you let it release. Because if you just keep people in a constant state of tension, they get tired of it, they get bored with it, and they're not interested anymore. There has to be the give and take. I'm looking at the New York Times. The New York Times still has it at 12 seats. FYI. So the real story of the night is the Senate, because we now have two flips, 49% reporting, and Josh Hawley's pulling away from McCaskill. He's up by 12.5 points. Cruz is pulling away from Beto. I mean, remember this also, and this is the other thing to remember. They still won't call the Rick Scott race because they just not given up. Because it's within a point, they won't call it. RCP has it at Dem plus 13. That's fine. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So don't, I'm not going to be particularly coherent tonight because I'm going to have to constantly go back and forth and but I really do think that when you stop to look at it from the bigger picture, that if the the Republicans are able to hold the House, or even if it's a minor Democratic victory, they take a couple of seats. It's not like there's going to be, with a strong Republican majority in the Senate, it's not like they're going to be able to whip everybody in the line and have everybody voting straight down the party line. I just don't think that that's possible. They finally called it for DeSantis. Okay, so that means they'll be calling it for Scott anytime now. But the New York Times won't call that yet. He's up by 80,000 votes and they won't call it. Just like they won't call Georgia, even though, he's up by 250,000 votes. And most of Atlanta is already reported. Republicans will likely pick up 2 seats in Minnesota. Yeah, that's true. Well, they're picking up at least 1. Oh, yeah, 2. That'd be good. See how that works. So this may be as bad as it gets here. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But the markets are gonna look favorably upon this result, without a doubt, because the default situation was that The default situation was that the Republicans only pick up 1 or 2 seats in the Senate, and the Democrats pick up 30 seats in the House. And any result that's north of that in their direction, forget it. It'll be a blowout. There'll be a big rally in the markets tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen in Montana. I know that there hasn't been much reported yet, so I don't know. Yeah, User 13, I just didn't think she was a particularly good candidate. I mean, how do you run on a strong anti-gun platform in Georgia? I mean, come on. Do you really think the millions of Africans riding through Atlanta are going to carry you to victory on that? I mean, look at what they did in Florida and in Georgia. They ran black socialists in Florida and Georgia in order to try and recreate the Obama vote. And they lost by a bigger margin, with arguably a weaker candidate on the other side. So, and they spent a lot of money. The best part about this is how much money they spent for Beto O'Rourke to lose in Texas, for DeSantis and for Gillum and Nelson to lose in Florida. I mean, their whole strategy for 2020 is to flip Florida, and they can't do it. And Florida is only going to get more red. It's only going to get more Trump. When Trump is on the ballot in 2020, Florida, he's going to win Florida by 9 points. He won it by 5 the last time. He'll win by 9. In the next 2 years, he'll double his support amongst blacks. He'll push his support amongst Hispanics up over 50. I mean, Gillum didn't win Miami by a 60-40 margin. He only won 58-42. Because, again, there's a lot of people as my friend of mine put it, hey, there's a lot of people who don't like communism in Miami. What a shock. So, I mean, think about what they did. And think about what they spent. You got to love that they spent as much money as they did. You got to love that. They spent millions and lost. Keep throwing money down a rat hole and you keep losing. Great. It's fantastic. They're not going to change the Florida Supreme Court. All of the friggin' amendments passed. Frankly, unfortunately. So, it's a weird time, and I think that I think this is still your classic kind of transitional period. We voted for Trump in 2016. We rolled the dice with him. He hasn't really fucked things up too badly. He's improved some things. He's been not great on other things. He's made he's kept as many promises as he's been allowed to keep for the most part. Yeah, he's got some weaknesses and some personality deficiencies on foreign policy, which is my bailiwick, which I care about the most. If I'm a single issue voter, it's foreign policy, but I don't think it'll be complete gridlock. It all depends on what happens here. If the Democrats pick up 4 more seats, then yeah, it's going to be a bunch of gridlock between now and then. But the problem is that Trump's, like the last 2 years, Trump was not going to own that. And it's still going to be hard for them to keep that. It's going to be hard for Pelosi to keep whipping these people into shape and vote straight party line. It's going to be very difficult for her to do that because they're going to be staring at 2020 when it gets even worse for them, when the people keep asking for changes and they keep asking for, and they get used to paying fewer taxes and all of this stuff. And it's going to be harder. It's going to be a much harder case for them. They can't just sit there and keep going, orange man bad. It's just not going to work. Most of what we saw in Florida was on the ballot was actually good. They raised the homestead exemption, except, of course, for taxing for school district. School districts are always exempted from this. So, I mean, dude, my property taxes are going to drop like a rock. Not that they were very high in the first place. I live in rural North Florida, but they're going to be pretty low because the homestead exemption goes to either $100,000 or $125,000, and the assessed value on my home is in that range. So it'll be fun if the Dems win the House. Yeah, actually, everything passed in Florida. But if I remember correctly, and if I understand it correctly, it's not violent felons. It's not pedos and sexual predators and whatnot. They still don't get the vote. I actually voted for that. Because there's a lot of non-violent felons on the voter rolls, off the voter rolls. There's a lot of people in this state who have been convicted of a felony when the definition of felony has slid very, 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 very far down the line, especially here in Florida, where shit that used to be misdemeanors are now third degree felonies, and that means you can't carry a gun and you can't fucking vote. And I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. That's just bullshit. You get caught on an administrative felony charge in this state because of some asshole district attorney. I'm sorry. Fuck that. That doesn't mean you give up your right to fucking self-defense. Sorry, that's the hardcore libertarian in me. I'm sorry. That's more important to me than who you wound up voting for. Because I got news for you. We could all be freaking convicted felons because in this country, everybody commits anywhere from 2 to 3 felonies a day. So. Yeah, I mean, at 218 votes, is Pelosi, do you really think Pelosi's got a chance of retaining Speaker of the House? I mean, I don't know. This isn't a blue wave. They were hoping for a much better result than this so far, and they haven't gotten it. Dude, 62% reporting in Missouri, and he's up by 10 fucking points. All right? That's insane. She will fight to be speaker. She's friggin' she's nuts. Yeah, this is a hollow one. Given the amount of energy and the amount of what they put into this to get this result is terrible. They're going to be very, very, very disappointed tomorrow. They're already disappointed now. It's great. Fantastic. Yeah, them calling the House based on algorithms is stupid, Chris Jimenez. So you're absolutely right. They should not be doing that. Can I do a special broadcast on Maxine Waters' first day as head of the Finance Committee? No. The less time I spend thinking about Maxine Waters, the better I am. The happier I am. Did they vote blue this time? I don't know. I mean, think about it this way. The Rust Belt was always blue. Trump was able to flip them. But that doesn't mean that because we voted for Trump that we also going to vote for, they're going to vote out their incumbents with seniority who will bring them their pork. These are different things, okay? These are different imperatives. Not everybody is thinking the way we are, which is very strategically, okay? They really are just thinking, well, Joe's a good guy. He brings money back to the district. I don't really care that, he's been my rep for 10 years. He's good at what he does, whatever. It's the way a lot of people think. There's a lot of inertia in that respect. The House is a weird thing, and in off elections, it's a completely weird thing. So just, don't take it for what it is, because it's on presidential years that the president has coattails. That's what's important. Well, they're media, William Justice. They want to call stuff as early as possible because they want their ratings. I mean, it's just that simple. But if no one's focusing on the Claire McCaskill thing and how James O'Keefe may have just flipped on his own, may have flipped a major seat in the Senate. Look, McCaskill going down is big. She's got major seniority. Right? I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, actually. You guys are talking about Pelosi from this perspective. But that Pelosi really is Trump's wet dream as a speaker. He gets to take her to task on every stupid thing that comes out of her mouth. And she's incoherent at this point. She presents like a stroke victim, for fuck's sake. I mean, he will run her into the ground. He will run Schumer into the ground. Okay? They're going to lose even more. They could lose even more seniority in the Senate. I doubt anything weird is going to happen here, but what if when California starts to report that Kevin DeLeon doesn't give Dianne Feinstein a run for her money, where all the Republicans vote for him and all the Democrats stay home? This is going to make 2020's House races hilarious. You're right. McCaskill is a roach, and she needs to, and if she gets beat by 10 freaking points, dude, that would be amazing. %63% reporting, and she's in trouble, man. St. Louis County is already 50% reported. St. Louis City is the only one, is the big one yet. There's still a lot of votes to come in from St. Louis, so they're trying to figure out how they can get her to win there. But Kansas City's already voted. They're done. I mean, I don't think there's enough votes left in St. Louis City. Maybe there are. We'll find out. It's going to be interesting. That would be the big thing of the night. I mean, are there 5 seats in California? Is it realistic to believe that there's 5 seats in California that the Democrats can flip? Turnout in Arizona was huge. Yeah, it was big in Florida. Dude, we did over 8 million votes in Florida. Okay? The Florida Senate race between Bill Nelson and Rick Scott was over 8 million votes. That's nearly presidential numbers. It was enormous. Simply enormous. New York Times is guessing that McCaskill loses by 6%. That's fantastic. Fox just called Missouri for Hawley. Wow. Well, they should. He's up by 10. And it's not even close. The same thing with Mike Braun. It's not even close. Right? Florida's always close. And if we actually had a... Yeah, I know. There's like 5. They've got like 5 or 6. So there's another one. Right? So that's... So if McSally holds in Arizona and Scott, Missouri, that's 52. McSally out in Arizona. And if if they can pull out in Nevada, be 54, maybe 55. Rosendale should win out in Montana. Just not a lot of the state is reported yet. Yeah, McSally is up right now. She's only up by about a point, though. A little less than a point. Love it. Anybody who thought that Ted Cruz was going to lose in Texas is crazy. The Times is being very conservative about what they call. And that's just normal for them. They don't want to call Georgia either. But she's losing by 8 points. 9. Oh, 8 points. Solid 8 points. What? They don't want to call the Idaho governor's race? Really? Too early? Whatever, okay. Oh, did Ducey already win in Arizona? Oh, yeah. Then I'll be shocked and amazed if McSally loses. The other thing about that race is that the Green is within the margin of victory. So the Green is pulling votes off the Democrat badly. Right. Getting at least 2 or 3 more, getting McSally, Scott, and Hawley into the Senate and Braun. Those are 4 solid pickups, or 5, sorry. And then Heitkamp out. That's 5 solid pickups in the Senate. Yeah. Yeah, they called Ducey 3 weeks ago. With 5 big pickups and possibly 6 if Montana flips. Or no, so it's 5. It's what, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I consider McSally a flip as well because McCain wasn't a fucking Republican. So, or Flake wasn't a Republican. Doesn't matter either. They were both shit. Yeah, Cruz deserves a salute for winning that race against a ridiculous amount of money displayed against him. So actually, Arizona in the hands, one of Arizona's, Arizona is now really solidly pro-Trump. McSally and Kyle in Arizona is now actually I consider that a +2 pickup. And then you add Indiana, Missouri, Florida, North Dakota, and possibly Montana. And you're talking about, 57 seats in the Senate? That's fucking huge. That's freaking enormous is what that is. That means that Trump can put through whatever cabinet member he wants. It means that Ruth Bader Ginsburg might as well retire tomorrow because she's not going to make it another 2 years in the hopes that Trump's going to get thrown out of office in 2020. She's not going to be able to sleep her way through 2 more years on the Supreme Court. They haven't called Hawley yet in the New York Times. but I guess somebody else is already calling it. And it's at 64%. It keeps slipping up. And the numbers keep slipping up, and they keep improving. Tester's currently up by 11 up in Montana, but again, yeah, but they're not John McCain. They're not Jeff Flake. It's those two are in a particular class of shitbag. Okay? John McCain became the conduit through which all the Clinton Foundation money moved after the Clintons were cut off after she lost. Right. The Senate win is far more important than the House. The Supreme Court, the cabinet, and the lower courts trumps the shape. The House is not that important. Trump can browbeat them and get shit passed. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the House members are going to vote their personal interests. And if they can't, and if Pelosi can't whip, if she's going to be on she's going to be on the bubble of having to whip everybody into shape. Right? And that's going to be hard to do. Anybody is fundamentally better than both McCain and Flake, without a doubt. How do we limit the impact of Romney? Scott, Hawley, Braun. What's the guy up in North Dakota? Kramer, possibly McSally. That's 5 people. That's how you do it. Flake is gone. Kane is gone. Moment of silence for John McCain's brain tumor. Joke never gets the fuck old. I'm sorry. And anything that the House blocks, any bullshit the House throws up, the House will, the Senate can block. It's not a big deal. Well, then, it'll be a tougher couple of years. Then it'll still be a tough couple of years. But understand, guys, that this is telling you everything you need to know. This inertia is strong. And we're not quite sure of what country we want to... We want to have. We know we don't want the incumbents. And the Democrats are riding this to a small victory so far, and a reasonably sized midterm victory. Asking for Trump's tax returns. What are they going to make hay over? It's so funny that they're going to bring up his tax returns again. Are you kidding me? How 2016 are they? So I don't know. To me, this isn't what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a stronger defense of the House than this. But a lot of the statewide races turned out well. I mean, you have to take your wins where you can get them in something like this. So I would have liked to have seen Menendez go down in New Jersey. I would have liked to see, again, Manchin, you can almost pencil in as a Republican at this point. He's not going to vote with the Democrats. So the Senate's strong. 66% reporting, and Josh Hawley is holding on to a 9.5-point lead. Does Mueller get fired tomorrow? Guys, you don't have to preface with my name going up front. You just throw a comment up there. I'll see it. Does Mueller get fired tomorrow? I don't think so. I think he'll wait. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm really surprised at this point that we don't have any craziness. There's not people screaming about voter fraud, or that there's, that they weren't able to manufacture a runoff in in Florida or a recount in Florida or any of this stuff. That, I mean, McCaskill going down by 10 points is fucking huge, guys. Okay? It's a freaking blowout. Ohio always looks a shitbag Republican governor. I don't know. I mean, Mueller's entire thing is going to peter. It's already petered out. So Fox just called DeSantis as our new governor. Yeah, I knew that an hour and a half ago. So once the Panhandle started to report, it was interesting. It got really hinky for a while. We were watching the results, and I've watched enough Florida election results to know how they do things. What they were trying to do with the early results were to, they dumped all of the major urban precincts from West Palm, Broward, and Miami-Dade onto the market at the same time. So we went from like 2% reporting or 6% reporting to boom, 23%. Oh, it looks bad now. He's down by 3 points, and there's only 20% of Broward is reported, and only 40% of Miami-Dade is reported. And I got news for you. They dumped all the heavy districts that way. Those numbers never got better than that. As the rest of the numbers came in from Miami-Dade, Broward, and West Palm, Gillum's numbers and Nelson's numbers kept dropping. Same thing in Jacksonville. At one point, Nelson was winning Jacksonville by 7 points. He wound up winning it by less than 2. Just Duval County, right? The rest of the I-95 corridor was unbelievably strong. I mean, it was all about turnout. I mean, you have to understand that the rural counties and the smaller city counties, right? The Volusia counties, the Volusia and Bungle, not Martin. Yeah, Martin County and St. John's and the whole up and down Flagler, all up and down that coast, right? They all came out at numbers that were above the 2016 levels. We saw... No, they didn't. But normally Pinellas isn't a very... Pinellas is usually a strong Democrat. And the fact that those guys only lost by a point or two is actually really good. And Scott's never taken Pinellas County. Again, Rick Scott has baggage. He's not well liked here by Republicans and Democrats. He won 2 terms as Florida governor by a half a point each time. This is a blowout for him. He got almost a point. I mean, the guy's never won an election, a statewide election in the state by more than 40,000 votes. That's just the truth. And, you know, in Pinellas County, Charlie Crist is the former governor, is the House rep. This is a hard sell. Okay, so the good news is that the Black and Hispanic numbers are trending well for Trump in Florida, which is going to make it even harder for them because, again, as I said in the last live stream, Black vote's only 6% of Florida. You got to turn them all out to win. And who are they going to run in 2020 against Trump to try and flip Florida? As his numbers are rising in Florida. They know them losing Florida tonight is really the entire election. Everything else does not matter. With the Democrats banking on a Gillum win to rig the vote in 2020, they were betting on a Gillum win to permanently flip Florida. Will he push for an anti-birthright measure or will he bend the knee? I don't know. I don't know if he's just using this as a tactic or not. I think it's interesting that that he continues to push it. I love how they just refuse to report that Rick Scott has won. They refused to report that Claire McCaskill was lost. Wow. Numbers haven't updated on here in a long time now. Yeah, they're just in denial about Florida. Incumbents always win. What they do. Flipping incumbents is hard. John James put up a really good fight in Michigan. He only lost by 6. Not bad. Not bad. I mean, she's got a 150,000 vote deficit to overcome. And no, I'm not saying that I'm happy about these results, Jen Johnson. I'm not. Okay, I'm not crazy about them. But I'm trying to give you the best scenario that I can here, given that this was a likely outcome. The most likely outcome here was a lot of was what we've seen here. About 4 or 5, anywhere from 3 to 5 seats in the Senate, and losing 12.5 seats in the House. It's not bad. So this is good for what James acquitted himself very nicely. I mean, I'm sorry, but dude, getting rid of Claire McCaskill, that's awesome. Okay, it's a 10-point lead at 71% in Missouri, and they still won't call it. The New York Times won't. McSally's winning by a point now in Arizona. Feinstein's only up by a point in against another Democrat in California. That's really sad. And the race is starting to tighten in Montana. Hank Johnson, the dumbest man in Congress, kept the seat. Dude, Alcee Hastings ran unopposed. I'm sorry, he's not dumber. Nobody's dumber than Alcee Hastings. Okay? Nobody. Yeah, I'm sure she won. But, whatever. Now they got Scott down to 0.6%. Broward's still trying to manufacture a couple more votes. Miami-Dade is done. Yeah, Broward's still trying to throw up a couple more votes to try and make it close. Broward is the only county in Florida that has not reported everything yet. Broward and West Palm. Everybody's reported in Florida. Oh, and Alachua, of course. And Alachua should have their numbers by only blue counties haven't finished in Florida yet. They're trying to manufacture a runoff and a recount in Florida. That's what they're doing now. Still 6 more precincts in Broward, 9 more precincts in Palm Beach, 1 in Osceola, 1 up in Gadsden, and 2 in Alachua. 1 in Osceola. They're scumbags. Yeah, Green Party is within the margin of election in Arizona is actually really bad for her. Arizona still hasn't counted early ballots. Why not? Interesting. Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to call. Oh, Feinstein's going to win in California. Cantwell's going to win in Washington. She's terrible. Yeah, they're really trying to. They're trying to manufacture a recount in Florida. They need to get, I think, down under 50,000 votes. Do I think doxing is now done as a Dem tactic? No, I think it only just started. They're not happy about these results. They wanted 30 seats in the House. They're not going to get 30 seats. Will Antifa be out in the streets again? Yeah, Soros isn't done spending his money. The caravan, not going to be an issue. The election's over. You remember when Washington was solid red? Yeah. Well, it is, except for that area of the country. God, the rest, the western part is. But it's like everything else. Urban areas are all, it really is a terrible split between the urban and the suburban, the urban and the rural. All right, we're starting to get some House seat results, early House seat results in California. If they haven't counted early ballots in California yet, then McSally wins because Republicans have a 10-point lead in registered voters. Yeah. Yes, we have two countries with two sets of values, and the bigger question is, ultimately, the bigger question is, how do you get that back? Right? Trump's got to work even harder between now and 2020 to push this. See, look, the Democrats are going to continue to push towards being openly crazy and openly socialist. This is what they're going to do. They're not going to attenuate their rhetoric. They're going to double down here. Because they're going to look at this result and they're going to think, okay, this is good for us. Yep, so it's looking like it's looking very, very poor that the Republicans are going to hold on to the House. Not happy about it. Not happy about it at all. Yeah, it's not going to be good. But I'm still ecstatic about what's happened in the Senate so far. That's the best part. Yeah, so now, I mean, we're back out to Scott +8 and plus 0.8, and they're still not calling it. It's amazing. They're really holding out hope. Yeah, it's going to be all of those things. Everything we just saw in the last 2 years, we're going to see more of. So there'll be a lot less Russia collusion stuff because everybody knows that that's bullshit. Actually, what's going to happen is Hillary's going to get thrown under the bus for that. The Senate does stop impeachment. There's no chance of Trump getting impeached. He has to get impeached in both the House and the Senate. They're not going to impeach him, and they're not going to get a 25th Amendment challenge to him or anything like that. None of that's going to happen. None of that is going to happen. I'm actually surprised, though, that the anti-incumbent vote. Let's look at it this way. The libertarian in me is saying, good, a lot of incumbents got thrown out of office. Incumbents getting thrown out of office is a good thing. It keeps everybody healthy. Keeps the system, it keeps everybody on their toes. Because here's the situation. Because all the incumbents who just got reappointed, right, in the House, they're going to be looking over their shoulders in 2020, right up the road going, how do I stay in office? Because the voters with a relatively good situation and an insane set of circumstances still voted so far, 22 out of 435 or 535 races, or no, not sorry, 535, 460 races, voted a significant number of incumbents out of office. Oh, wow. They've got to just fucking call Missouri already. New York Times. Come on. Hawley is now up over McCaskill by 200,000 votes and 11 points. That's just crazy town. I mean, what do they know that the rest of us don't know? St. Louis City is the only thing really left that matters. The race is over other than St. Louis City. And there's like 2/3 of that has not reported yet. And you got to tell me that there's 250, that she's got a 250,000 point lead in that 250,000 vote lead in that, in St. Louis. Yeah, I mean, look, the impeachment label doesn't matter. Trump doesn't give a crap about any of that. He's like Clinton. He didn't give a crap about it either. Montana's looking thin, I guess. I don't know. It's now an 8-point race. But a lot of Montana still hasn't even begun to report yet. I don't know. But yeah, they won't call Hawley. They can't believe McCaskill's losing by 11. I mean, that's enormous. That's so good it's not funny. Huh. Sanders and the Independent. I don't know. Is Angus King up in Maine? Is he a socialist or is he a Democrat? What the markets will do tomorrow? If the House holds in this range, 17 to 20 seats, market will rally tomorrow. Yeah, they don't want to call a lot of these races yet. The Rohrabacher's what? California 45? 48. That's scary. Yeah, I think that they're probably comfortable in thinking that they've got the win, either because they know that they've got the voter fraud in place, and don't kid yourselves, that's possible. But they didn't win. They didn't hold. It's a very weird result, right? It's actually the result you kind of expected. They lost ground in the Senate, and the Democrats gained control of the House. I don't know. I don't want to watch Pelosi. I can't do it. So no one should be taking a victory lap here, because every race that they really wanted to win, they lost. They spent an outrageous amount of money. They gaslit people to hell and gone. And they turned out the vote in a lot of races. So, Trump couldn't be everywhere at once. The dynamics are different. But it's not, I don't know. You can't? Then it's terrible. I mean, Arizona's a mess. They've really done a job on that state. Done a job on my state, too. I don't even believe that Florida's this close, but it keeps coming up over and over and over again that it's this close. 83% reporting McCaskill is down by 9 points, and they refuse to call it. St. Louis City has been sitting at 77 of 222 precincts reporting for the last 2 hours. Yeah, a lot of people, again, how many times did we say that? How many Republicans didn't want to win? Because they didn't want to win with Trump. They lost. And now in 2020, different Republicans get to come in under the Trump banner. Well, yeah, the media is absolutely treasonous. Yeah, they're absolutely trying to manufacture a win for McCaskill in St. Louis City right now. The only thing that makes any sense. I haven't seen the Arizona numbers change at New York Times in a while now either. Yeah. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 pickups in the House. Or in the Senate. Oh. Not what we figured. Jesus Christ, they will not call it in Georgia. The Georgia governor race. Yep, Scab is online. Do you think they're switching votes in Missouri right now? They're trying to figure out what the hell they can do. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where they are now. Is that having the a lot of GOP establishment just got rubbed out, and that's fine. There's gonna be a lot of that. There's gonna be a lot of people who are just like, dude, fuck you. You wouldn't support Trump, then the hell with you. I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. Yeah, they won't call races that Obama and the celebrities campaigned for and lost. So we got a lot of new people. A good sign. $10 years ago, could the Democrats run on the insanity they're pushing now? No, they couldn't. And I know that what this means is that look, we've been saying for months here that we're headed for civil war, guys. I mean, we're already in it. What we were hoping for tonight, and I'll be honest with you, is that there would be a stronger desire amongst voters to just say, enough with that. We're not going there and hold the line here. But unfortunately, the GOP is so freaking corrupt that people couldn't even hold on to that. And so the point that was made during earlier, that there are a lot of people who identify with Trump but refuse to pull the lever for Republican, or decided, fuck it, we'll leave. No, this is what normally happens. So Hawley's speaking about having won, but Missouri hasn't been called yet. And McCaskill hasn't I'm sure hasn't conceded. I just find it funny that 10% have reported in California, and they're not going to call Dianne Feinstein winning in California. Well, they weren't because John McCain wouldn't let them repeal Obamacare. McCaskill's giving her concession speech. Wow. But yet, the New York Times refuses to call it. I know that RCP called Missouri Just Truth. I know that. I was waiting for the New York Times to do so, because they tend to be. Did Rohrabacher win? Early on, it's flat. The early numbers that we have for that district are he's leading by 80 votes. Right. Trump's been gradually repealing Obamacare by executive order and other things. He wants something better than that, but he can't get it. So it looks like he's going to have to go that route. But I mean, if somehow they hold on to the House here, that there's a couple of seats here that get flipped. I mean, the Republicans haven't flipped any seats yet. They flipped one seat in Pennsylvania, and everybody's expecting they don't flip any other seats. Oh, Pelosi knows exactly who she works for, Maurice. Don't kid yourself. Maurice is saying he imagines that Pelosi knows that even she's at the mercy of 3 billionaires. Dude, she does their bidding. That's what she does. None of these people have any real power. So, she knows who she works for. That's her job. So now the question is, if they decide that they're going to continue to play the game of if they're going to think that they're going to get away with another 2 years of what they pulled with Brett Kavanaugh, then we're headed for a civil war, and that's just the end of it. And y'all just need to buck up and prepare for it now. Okay? It's just the way it is. I'm really surprised at... I am surprised that the Republicans didn't hold the House, but I think they didn't want to hold the House. So... I think they wanted to lose. I mean, if you ask me the question of what would the GOP want, what's the GOP's preferred outcome here? GOP's preferred outcome is what happened tonight. They actually wanted Rick Scott to lose. They didn't want McCaskill to lose in Missouri. They wanted a blue wave as much as everybody else because it's a big club and we're not in it. The New York Times just finally declared Missouri. McCaskill's out. Best result of the night. McCaskill and Bill Nelson are out in the Senate. Huge, huge results. Looks like we've got a pickup of about 3 or 4 seats in the Senate by the Republicans, and a loss of 20 seats or so in the House. Scott's making his victory speech. Again, no one will actually call it, but good for him. He should. It's, as of right now, it's plus 20 for the Democrats. It's a very mixed result. So we now have a stronger Senate and a weaker House. But again, I don't think that Pelosi is going to have a perfect blue wall in the House. I really don't. Maybe, but she may have a hard time justifying that if with a strong Senate. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it just means we're going to see more of the same crazy shit that we've been seeing. What it means. It means that they're going to fight. They're going to fight each other tooth and nail, and it's going to be more of the same stuff. And that's that. It's going to be more of the same. So, I don't know what else to tell you. I really don't. I got a lot of work to do tomorrow, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna be on for maybe another 4 or 5 minutes, but I'm tired of this. I mean, I'm not crazy about what's going on here, or what's happened here, but it makes some sense. Looks like Montana's gonna hold. They're gonna hold Montana. What? It looks like we're gonna pick up. The Republicans will pick up 2 in Minnesota. Why would they put her back up again? Why not try a different strategy? Because Nancy Pelosi has power. She owns everybody. That's why. Because it's a big club and that's just the way it is. And we're supposed to believe that this is all real? Oh, sure. With the amount, that there's tremendous vote fraud out there. How is Wisconsin? Everybody who was supposed to win in Wisconsin won in Wisconsin. I found it funny that Stabenow can only win like 3 counties and win all of Michigan. He won She won 10 counties, no 11. It was better. It was a better result than I thought it was. Good. Take the win. Nelson and McCaskill are out. It's a huge win. Pritzker in Illinois? I don't even know who you're talking about. Oh, you mean the governor? The idea that Illinois had a Republican governor was crazy. How's that? John James was a good candidate, and he gave it his best shot. No shame in losing to Debbie Stabenow by 6 points. Not at all. You see, when you see what you're seeing in Georgia, which is an ever tightening of the race as more and more numbers come in, that's vote fraud. That's electioneering. Because they know what the run looks like once they've got 20% of the population, and they should be able to figure it out. And they know. When you see this ever tightening number like this, where Abrams has gone from 38% to 40% to 42% to 46%, this is where vote fraud happens. Because this shit should have already been reported and the numbers should already be in. They know that she's lost, and they're trying to get this thing to within the legal limit to force either a recount or something along those lines. That's what they're doing. There's no way that this thing is continuing to go on this way. There's all of this shit in Atlanta, and it's all stuff that they should have already counted by now. Right. Oh, absolutely. There's always fraud. They do it in Florida too, man. It's always that way. Broward, West Palm, and Miami are always slow to get the results through. They always take their time. They always wait to see how the panhandle votes. They always do this. I'm watching the New York Times. There's a bunch of seats they refuse to call. Wow. Who's Salazar? You guys actually think that I follow this that closely? I really, I love your enthusiasm, but I really don't follow things that closely. So no, they're not calling anything at this. And there's some flips that are happening. There's 2 flips that are happening in Minnesota. They're Yep. Heavy minority districts in Metro Atlanta always have machine problems every election. Heavy white districts never have these issues. Yeah, it's amazing how that always works out that way. They spend an extra couple of hours. The polls are kept open late. You know, that kind of thing. And this stuff just goes on for, and they just drag it out for hours. Yeah, they flipped the district in New York. They flipped 2 in New York, actually. Well, it's like everything else. We'll see what happens. But here's the thing. The Senate controls the cabinet picks, and the cabinet picks control what the president can actually get done, how he implements, right? The big obstruction in the first half of Trump's first term was that his cabinet picks were really heavily compromised, but what he could get through a Senate that wouldn't give him anything. Now he's got a Senate that give him just about anything he wants. So do we see changes in his cabinet? Like, do we see a less hawkish UN ambassador, for example? Do we see changes in the cabinet? It would be good. It would be really good, because starting with Attorney General, obviously. So, yeah, Mississippi is going to go for towards a runoff on that seat. Yep. But that seat's not going to flip. That seat's not going to flip Democrat. Don't even think about it. Yeah, they finally released the last results out of St. Louis City. Yep. And again, it wasn't even close. I mean, she got 84% of the vote in that district, but that was it. She lost by a lot. All right. That sounds like an evening. Hour and 29 minutes. Yeah, that's an evening. It's midnight. All right, you guys do take care. Let's put it this way. Not a red wave, not a pity party. Kind of just another midterm election. All right, it's been the Gold Goats and Guns hour and a half. You guys take care. We'll see you Friday night at 8:30. Keep your stick on the ice.